Horizon 2020 program related to CSP or any other renewables that could be related to or interesting for our audience today. And then Julio, which you have just met before, and myself will be in charge of the CSP ERANET additional code. And I think with this, I would like to give the floor to Piero De Bonis. Thank you very much for being with us today, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Raquel. Good morning, everyone. So as a first talk, let's see what is the general framework of the current EU policies, both on the legislative side and also in terms of research and innovation aspects, everything which has an impact, everything which the CSP community should be aware of. First of all, let me recall again that since 2017 we have an implementation plan from the Strategic Energy Technology plan. We have a dedicated implementation plan on concentrated solar power. It was one of the first to be endorsed back in 2017. This is the link where you can find this document. The document outlines 12 research and innovation activities and a number of conditions which should be in place for further deployment of the CSP technology. We are all aware of the fact that now, for many years now, unfortunately, there was no new commercial deployment of CSP, if maybe exclude a couple of exceptions. So really what we are trying to do on the EU side, also with the Strategic Energy Technology Plan, is really to create the conditions to restart CSP deployment in Europe. Just to make you aware of the fact that, of course, in the Strategic Energy Technology Plan, you have the Commission, and also you have the member states, and then you have the involvement of stakeholders at large. So it's really the Strategic Energy Technology Plan, the SET plan, really gives the opportunity for the different actors really to come together. And in this framework, we have a so-called implementation working group on concentrated solar power. The document, the implementation plan, is now is currently being revised, and we are aiming for a new updated version of this document in the weeks to come, in the months to come. Moving now to legislation, of course, since November 2018, we have in place the communication, which is called A Clean Planet for All. This is the first document which really states that the European Union should aim at net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. The communication mentions CSP, saying that CSP is another solar energy source in which the EU is a global technology leader, and of course the communication stresses the dispatchable character of CSP. And back in 2018, of course, the document was saying that between 5 and 35 gigawatt of CSP could be installed worldwide, and this is actually was quoting a document prepared by Solar Paces, Greenpeace, and Stella back in 2017. Now we see that so far, unfortunately, worldwide, these numbers are unfortunately lower, much lower. Especially if we consider, as I was saying, that in Europe, unfortunately, very limited commercial deployment, but also in the United States at the moment, very almost non-commercial deployment. Continuing now with legislation, EU legislation, of course, another cornerstone is the Renewable Energy Directive, which was revised in 2018, and the share of renewables at EU level was increased to 32%, and the cooperation mechanism in the directive were reconfirmed. Of course, we've been saying for a number of years, maybe the cooperation mechanism can be an instrument for CSP deployment. Unfortunately, this has not materialized yet, but still it is an option. And in July this year, of course, we had the publication of a proposal to for another revision of the Renewable Energy Directive, And the proposal here is even to bring by 2030 the share of renewables to 40%. So a significant increase, and of course CSP is there. It should play really a role in contributing to these shares. Now, since the end of 2019, of course, with the new Commission in place, we had this very important general framework, which is the European Green Deal. The European Green Deal has several components, and of course, what is clearly relevant for CSP is a component which has to do with supplying clean, affordable, and secure energy. So, of course, I invite all of you, if you're not already familiar with the European Green Deal, to become familiar with it, to become familiar with the general approach which is proposed by the European Green Deal, because anyway, even if, of course, CSP, we can say this directly contributing to the box which I have highlighted now, anyway, the approach is really now to try to consider as many aspects as possible in a holistic way. And so, of course, we're not now only looking at technological improvement or how much power can come from, for example, CSP, but also we're looking at the fact that this has to happen in environmental responsible ways, in a sustainable way, and also taking into consideration, for example, affordability aspects. So more and more, really, we encourage to move out of the pure technological box and really consider many other different aspects. This is really the approach that the European Green Deal framework defines. Now, linked to the European Green Deal, which was published in 2019, we had, and this was became law in just before the summer. So this is the regulation which states that the European Union has the objective to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So in 2018 it was also a general aim. Now this has been put into law. So this is a legislative commitment on the part of the European Union. And now what is really important at the moment is the climate target plan, which was published last year. And this is the proposal which says that the European Union should decrease greenhouse gas emissions by 55% by 2030 compared to the reference scenario. And for example, due to this to the climate target plan, we are, for example, putting forward the proposal for a further revision of the Renewable Energy Directive, increasing even further the target in terms of share of renewables in the EU energy mix. So also the climate target plan really is another very important document, and I really encourage you to familiarize yourself with it. Now, not directly relevant for all the initiatives on energy or climate, but I would like to mention, of course, due to the pandemic, the Next Generation EU package of initiatives, and maybe you're all aware of the fact that each member state in the European Union is receiving grants and loans. Those come from the Recovery and Resilience Facility and are meant to be spent in accordance with national recovery and resilience plans, which countries have defined. So, of course, in some cases, really, we are talking about important amounts of funding, which is coming to benefit the member states, and maybe this is something also which has to be considered in the CSP community. See if this can open new avenues for CSP deployment. This is really my personal opinion. Another important aspect to be considered is the EU taxonomy. So the EU taxonomy, this is a regulation of last year. The taxonomy is a classification system for green investments. So this is really to guide how funding is spent, especially investment funding. And so there are activities which have been defined as contributing, for example, to climate change mitigation. And indeed, CSP is one of those activities. So CSP has really been identified as a way to contribute to climate change mitigation. This is especially stated in this document, which is called EU Taxonomy Climate Delegated Act. This document really specifies technology by technology, if the technology contributes to climate change mitigation, or if there are also some measures to be put in place to consider the technology contributing to climate change mitigation, or if the technology has to have a certain performance threshold. In the case of CSP is by definition contributing to climate change mitigation. So hopefully also this will be a further lever for the CSP technology for future development and deployment. So this is a general overview of, I think, important legislative pieces at the EU level for the CSP technology. I would also, of course, mention here on the research side, but we know that Christina will speak about this later on in the morning. These are the, I would say, three of the topics which, in my opinion, are most relevant for the CSP community in the Horizon Europe, in the current 2021-2022 Horizon Europe Work Program. So you see here the budget and the deadlines for this call. Of course, here we're talking about research and innovation actions for this research community. And also, I would like to mention the fact that, as I was saying before, that we are revising the implementation plan on CSP. So please stay tuned also in this regard. And in the CSP, in the revised implementation plan, you will see that maybe we're going beyond the typical application of CSP, because we really consider that CSP should move beyond utility scale power generation, and really consider the solar thermal technologies in general should really find further niches of application. So that's all on my side, and I thank you for your attention, and of course any questions are welcome.